Now, a topic that I've really wanted to cover. Things have got very interesting at the SNP. Now, for those of you that don't know, that are probably a lot of people like the Yanks don't really know a lot about the SNP, but the SNP are a nationalist, I like to say, nationalist party in Scotland, and they want Scotland to be an independent state and then join the EU, which means it's not independence. And the crazy thing is, most countries' nationalist parties are right-wing. The SNP is not right-wing at all. They are left-wing. They are left-wing nationalists who want the geographic area of Scotland to be its own country, managed by Scottish people and the European Union. And then they also want to have uncontrolled mass immigration. And they even call the immigrants the new Scots. It's a weird form of nationalism, I'll tell you. It doesn't feel like nationalism at all, if I'm being honest. But basically, the leader of the party for a long time was Nicola Sturgeon. She did a lot of fuck-ups, and eventually she tried to put a trans man in a women's prison, which seems to have been the straw that brought the camel's back, and she just decided to go, fuck this, I'm out, and left the party. And her husband is a man called Peter Murrow, who managed the party finances. Now, there was already an investigation going on into Peter Murrow, because one weird thing about the SNP is the SNP got given a lot of money from the COVID fund and from the English government and from many other sources, and there was this weird thing where it just kept going missing. Money, huge chunks of money just kept going missing to the point where the police started an investigation. And now that Nicola Sturgeon is no longer in charge of the SNP, she is, quit. She's away. She's not First Minister anymore. She's gave us Hamza Yusuf instead. Thanks very much for that. Now the investigation has went into overdrive, and her husband was actually arrested. The SNP headquarters was raided. Nicola Sturgeon's properties were raided, and good goddamn, let's just get into everything that's happening. I've actually got a couple of articles for this one. Who is Peter Murrow, and what is SNP police investigation all about? Everything you need to know. The party's former chief executive is married to Nicola Sturgeon and stepped down from his role last month after a row over SNP membership numbers. Now, he's had a lot of other stuff involved in him, but the SNP membership numbers, I believe, was just the straw that broke that camel's back. The investigation into the SNP finances was launched in 2021 amid claims that cash that was ring-fenced to fight another independence referendum had been illegally diverted. Some £600,000 was raised in 2017 and 2019 to fight a second bid to break up the United Kingdom, yet by the end of 2019, less than £100,000 was in the bank. Detectives dubbed the probe into the missing cash Operation Branchform, sparking a string of resignations from the party's ruling National Executive Committee, the NEC. Edinburgh South MP Joanna Cherry was among the ones who left the body over transparency and scrutiny concerns when Douglas Chapman, MP for Dunfermline and West Fife, quit as the National Treasurer after just 1 year, claiming he had not received the support of financial information to carry out his role. So basically, an investigation gets started and a bunch of people started jumping ship. I wonder why that could be. 3 other members left the party's Finance and Audit Committee, alleging they had been refused permission to see the party's accounts. That's very strange. It has since emerged salary details for former party chief executive Peter Murrow are not reported in 8 years of SNP accounts. But I mean, that's the point of the accounts department. You're supposed to record what everyone is getting paid, but there's none for Peter Murrow in 8 years. Was he working for free for 8 years? How curious. He took up the role in 1999, having previously worked in Alex Salmond's constituency office, initially earning just under £63,000. In 2011, he earned £109,000 before a pay cut to just over £77,000 the year after, but there are no further details of his pay between 2013 and 2020. In 2021 and last year, his salary was listed as just under £80,000. Oh yeah, be frog in my throat there. They were also digging up the garden. They erected tents in Nicola Sturgeon's house, and they were digging up the garden. And a part of me was like, please tell me that they've buried money in the garden like a fucking pirate. Please tell me that that's what's happened. I hope it's what's happened. There's not been anything that's came out yet about it, but hey-ho. Mr. Murrow also made a loan to the party after the last election in 2021, arranging a cash boost of £107,620 to help with a cash flow problem. Despite being married to him, the then First Minister Nicola Sturgeon claimed she can't recall when she learned about the loan, insisting it came from her husband's own resources. You know, I mean, I don't know what kind of marriage that is, right, where you don't take your husband's last name. If you don't take your husband's last name, then the woman's the one wearing the pants in that relationship. I don't believe for a second that if you're like the pants wearer, that you didn't know about your husband's finances, right? I very much wear the pants. I very much wear the pants in my marriage, and my wife knows absolutely everything about all of my finances because it's a good thing to keep them involved in it. Let them feel like they're doing something, you know. Electoral Commission documents show the financial arrangement came with no security or fixed interest rate, and it took a year for the watchdog to be notified. But a failure to disclose political donations and loans can lead to sanctions and even criminal prosecution. Detectives involved in the Operation Branch Farm fraud investigation have probed high-value transactions by the SNP, including vehicle purchases. We'll get back to that one in a wee minute. I've got another article. Senior figures have been quizzed about spending and gifts dating back to 2018, and prosecutors are now directing the inquiry, which was sparked by at least 19 criminal complaints over alleged misappropriation of the £600,000. Mr. Murrow finally stepped down from the top job last month after it emerged he had given inaccurate information about the Nats' dwindling membership to the press. He had insisted through his media chief reports the SNP had lost 30,000 supporters were inaccurate and drivel, but after pressure to release the numbers during the leadership battle sparked by Miss Sturgeon's resignation, it emerged that the figure had dropped from 104,000 in 2021 to just 72,000 as of February of this year. Interesting. So it was about 30,000 people quit, right? Quit the party. And that was after Nicola Sturgeon resigned. And it went down even more after Humza got voted in because, well, people don't like him. The chief executive left his post with immediate effect on March the 18th ahead of a no-confidence vote, saying responsibility for the SNP's responses to media queries about our membership number lies with me as chief executive. While there was no intent to mislead, I accept that... Yeah, there was. I accept that this has been the outcome. I have therefore decided to confirm my intention to step down as chief executive with immediate effect. And that's the end of the article. Okay, so there's one. Now, oh, sorry, got this one here. Police investigation into SNP finances, what we know so far. So now you know that the basic background and history. Hopefully this is going to have a little bit more. So basically Peter Murrow was arrested. He was arrested by the police, but I believe he was released without charge. But let's just go into it. The arrest of former SNP Chief Executive Peter Murrow, Nicola Sturgeon's husband, comes amid an investigation into the party's finances. Some within the party called for more transparency around its finances during Mr. Murrow's leadership. Here are some of the key moments so far. May 2021, MP Douglas Chapman resigned from his role as the party's treasurer, saying he had not been given enough information to do his job. Senior figures in the party, including Nicola Sturgeon, later disputed this assessment. Joanna Cherry, who is a little bit of a black sheep in the party, a vocal internal critic of the party's leadership, also resigned from her role on the National Executive Committee. Now, every party has an NEC, and the NEC is basically, they are like the secret shadow government of each political party. The super high-ranking people are on. I can remember dealing with the NEC and UKIP, and they were a fucking nightmare. Basically a lot of people in parties don't like the NEC. The NEC is like their little secret party within the party. July 2021, police open investigation. Police Scotland confirmed they were investigating after 7 complaints were made around donations to the SNP. This followed allegations that £600,000 raised for the campaigning towards Scottish independence was diverted elsewhere. It's not been the only instance of that as well. That was just the one that started the investigation. Earlier, the police force said they were assessing a fraud allegation relating to £600,000 of funds to, to determine if an investigation is required. The party said that all sums raised for independence campaigning will be spent on independence campaigning. However, it seems that they were not. August 2021, party accounts acknowledge concern. As the party's annual accounts were published, Treasurer Colin Beattie acknowledged there had been concern about transparency over independence-related appeals that had raised more than £600,000. In a section of the accounts, Mr Beattie discussed money raised by the referendum-related appeals since 2017. He said that £666,953 had been raised up until the end of 2021, with a total of £51,760 expenditure applied to this income. The money was earmarked through internal processes, he says, though the accounts did not officially record a separate sum. Curious. In December 2022, it emerged that Mr Murrow had loaned the party £100,000 in June of 2021. The party said that this was to help a cash flow issue after the election that year. Miss Sturgeon said the resources that he lent the party were resources that belonged to him. Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough. February 2023, Nicola Sturgeon resigns. Nicola Sturgeon stunned the world by suddenly announcing her resignation on February 15th. She said this was not in relation to short-term pressures, but because she knew in her head and heart that the time was right to go. During her Butte House press conference, she was asked if she expected to be interviewed in relation to the investigation. She said she did not. Well, narrator, but she was wrong. March 2023, Peter Murrow resigns. Amid the SNP leadership contest to replace Miss Sturgeon, Mr Murrow announced that he was stepping down from the role that he had held for more than 20 years. It came during a row over the party's membership numbers, which had also led to media chief Murray Foot stepping down. Membership numbers had dropped by about 30,000 in the last year, something the party had previously denied. April 2023, Murrow arrested as police search premises. Mr Murrow was arrested on the morning of Wednesday, April 5th. There was a large police presence around his home in Glasgow, as well as the SNP headquarters in Edinburgh. So basically, the police raided SNP headquarters and they raided Nicola Sturgeon's properties. Murrow was arrested, however, he's been so far released without charge. However, I believe it's pending an investigation, and apparently Nicola Sturgeon surrendered herself to a nearby police station to answer questions. But things are starting to heat up. The investigation is still ongoing. The police were even digging up their garden. I don't know what they were looking for. I hope it's money. I hope they've just got big chests of the missing money just buried in their garden. But we have this. This is important. This is a good one. There you are now. Police seize high-end camper van in SNP Finances probe. Remember when we were talking about purchasing vehicles? A Niseman and Bischoff motorhome, worth around £110,000, was taken from a house as part of a probe into the SNP's finances. By the way, a big motorhome is actually me and Sue's retirement plan. We're just going to drive all over Britain, maybe Europe, if it gets better by the time we retire. But then, yeah, going around the motorhome after the kids have grown up. I can go fishing, Sue can paint. I think it's a glorious retirement plan. A luxury camper van has reportedly been seized by police investigating the SNP's finances. A Niseman and Bischoff motorhome was taken from a house in Fife at the same time police searched the home of Nicola Sturgeon and her husband, Peter Murrow, according to the Mail on Sunday. The same model of camper van can sell for around £110,000. The SNP's former chief executive and Nicola Sturgeon's husband, Peter Murrow, was arrested on Wednesday before being released without charge in connection to an investigation into the funding and finances of the party. As well as Mr Murrow and Miss Sturgeon's home near Glasgow, the SNP headquarters in Edinburgh and the former First Minister's home in Glasgow were among properties searched by police officers. Mike Russell, the SNP president and a former minister, described the ongoing investigation as the party's biggest crisis in 50 years. On Saturday, Miss Sturgeon spoke publicly for the first time since her husband's arrest, addressing reporters outside her Uddingston home. In a short statement, she said she intends to get on with life and my job and that she would fully cooperate with the police investigation. She said, "There's obviously nothing I can say about the ongoing investigation. As much as there are things I might want to say, I'm not able to do so. Other than that, as has been the case, there will continue to be full cooperation. The last few days have obviously been difficult, quite traumatic at times, but I understand that it is part of the process." Earlier it emerged that the accountancy firm, which had audited the SNP's books for more than a decade, made had resigned. And a party spokesperson said, "We can confirm that Johnston Carmichael will not be providing audit services to the SNP this year. The National Treasurer is undertaking a tendering process for alternative provision, and we have advised the Electoral Commission of that position. The party's Treasurer is now seeking another auditor in order to comply with Electoral Commission rules. Police Scotland have said their investigation is ongoing." An SNP spokesman said it would not be appropriate to comment on any live police investigation. The SNP has been cooperating fully with this investigation and will continue to do so. Scottish Conservative Chairman Craig Hoy said the investigation into the SNP's murky finances grows more surreal by the day. The sight of a luxury motorhome being seized would be almost comic were the issue not so serious. Senior party figures, including Peter Murrow and Nicola Sturgeon, must come clean about what they knew and when in relation to the party's finances and what any missing money was spent on. The public have a right to know the truth and do not want this investigation to be shrouded in SNP secrecy. This is clearly a very serious case which the police are treating with the importance it merits. The article, SNP auditors quit 6 months ago and Humza Yousaf had no idea. Smashing. So, and I believe, don't know if it's been confirmed, but that motorhome was seized from Nicola Sturgeon's parents' house. I believe that's not been confirmed yet. So purchasing vehicles and stuff like that. So let's just hit out with a theory. You want to hit out with a theory? Let's hit out with a theory. Now, as Hopper likes to say, right? People that are custodians of the government, a custodian is basically whoever's president, prime minister, or first minister for their precious little 4 years, don't really give a crap about the country or the nation or the people. They have been put, and you know, what's that game show where you got put into the little wind tunnel where they threw loads of money in and you had exactly 1 minute to grab as much money and stuff it in your shirt as you could? That's what democracy is, right? There you go. You've got 4 years in the tube. Grab as much money as you can before your 4 years are up. And then after 4 years, do we give them another 4 years? Yeah, like that shit. That's democracy. That's what it is. People that end up being the custodian for those 4 years only use those 4 years to enrich themselves and possibly their friends as much as possible before the next person comes in to do the exact same thing again. Who gives a shit about the country, the people, the nation, blah, blah, blah. Let's just say we'll do a bunch of stuff and we'll demand more taxes from them. You know, in fact, fuck the clients. The key is to get the money from your client's pocket into your pocket. Right, that's welcome to democracy, right? So, like a standard politician, they don't give a crap about the nation. They only care about enriching themselves as much as possible. However, it seems that there could be a little case here of they went a little bit too deep into the cookie jar to the point where there's now a full investigation and we will find out what happens. Who knows, maybe they still have a little bit of clout and they can make it all go away, or maybe there could be some possible jail time. Can you imagine? And also, if it turns out there is, I refuse to believe for a second that Nicola didn't know. I refuse to believe for a second that Nicola didn't know about it. Okay? So, everything right now is alleged, right? I'm just saying it's a very, very interesting time. However, if it turns out that this is true, and the people that were here for the good of Scotland and the good of the nation and blah, 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 were actually just robbing us blind like the entire time, which, let's face it, is pretty much all governments. If it turns out that that's true, then Jesus Christ, combined with Humza Yousaf being First Minister, the SNP's dead. Like, that is it, man, because it's not a case of, because a lot of SNP supporters are fervent, they're very, very, very supportive, they're quite fanatical when it comes to their support of independence in the SNP, but this money that's gone missing was money that they gave to the party. Now, even though some of the supporters can be fanatical and stuff like that, when it comes to Scottish people and their money, if they find out that they gave you money so that they could get an independent nation, and you used it to buy yourself a nice fancy motorhome instead, the SNP would be done for. The SNP would be absolutely done for. Like, never mind 30,000 people quitting the party. Jesus, it might be way, way more than that. So many more than that. But again, it is an ongoing investigation, and we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But I have to say, boys, I'm pretty excited.